What's the difference between these two books? They've got the same author, they were edited by the same person, they have the same publisher, and they even have consistent cover designs. But obviously, they're completely different works. These two are exactly the same work. They have the same text and in fact exactly the same pagination. But they have different publishers and completely different covers. These two books are both The Hobbit, right? Even though they have almost no words in common with each other or with the English Hobbit. These three books look very similar. They have only subtle differences in the cover design, and the one on the right is slightly shorter. But it might surprise you that only the first two have the same ISBN. In thinking about all this, it's helpful to draw on the Functional Requirements for Bibliographic Records, or FRBR, a 1998 recommendation from the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions. FRBR is a conceptual structure for information resources that distinguishes works, expressions, manifestations, and items. The Silmarillion is a work. It gets realised in various expressions, like a book in English. That expression might be embodied in a variety of different manifestations, and each copy or item exemplifies a particular manifestation. It's helpful, but it doesn't go far enough for what's going on in these examples. These are 5 distinct impressions of the 1999 HarperCollins paperback edition, but the cover design changes. How do we think about all these variables? At the heart of all this is that a given copy or item has properties that it shares with other items. If we group by these various properties, whatever properties it is that we care about, and they'll be different depending on our interests as collectors, librarians, or textual scholars, if we group by these properties, we end up with a hierarchical structure that is richer than the FRBR model and richer than the descriptive bibliography and collector's vocabulary that I've seen so far. I've come up with a model with some tentative labels, but I'm interested in prior art, what other people call them and how they'd model them in a basic ontology. But before I get to my model, let me show you a copyright page that introduces some additional challenges. This is published under the Voyager Classics imprint of HarperCollins. It's labelled as the 2002 paperback edition, and it's the first impression. But the setting of the text originates from the HarperCollins 1999 edition. The text itself is copyright 1977. It may not surprise you if I told you that the ISBN doesn't consistently map to these other properties at all. But there is a hierarchy here. Impressions belong to what I'm calling a publisher edition. That's what's being referred to here by this paperback edition 2002. But the actual setting of the text is further up in the hierarchy, and the text is a level above again. Where the ISBNs attach, or where cover designs come in, adds even more complexity. And the Silmarillion comes in 2 editions, if by edition we mean a change to the text that warrants a preface to the second edition. But that sense of edition isn't the same as this paperback edition on the copyright page. So here's my tentative model. Impressions or printings are usually designated on the copyright page. Because there could be variation within a print run, it may be necessary to have a level between impression and item to capture those. Impressions are relative to what I'm calling a publisher edition, as I've already mentioned. But covers can change between impressions of the same publisher edition, so I have what I'm calling an impression group, or maybe impression range, to give something to attach cover metadata to. ISBNs can be shared among publisher editions, so there's a need to group those too. This publication group may also be where a setting or pagination information is attached. And then we have the major text edition, the kind of edition that warrants a new preface or similar. There is almost always an update to the copyright statement in these cases too. Of these, perhaps only the major text edition corresponds to an expression in FRBR, all the other levels seem to lie within manifestation. I've built a web application that models all of this, at least for Tolkien's works in English for now, but before I unleash it on the world, I'm interested in hearing from more metadata librarians, publishers, descriptive bibliographers, and collectors about how they'd do it. So if you have any thoughts or experience with these issues, leave a comment or get in touch with me.